first cup. And it's Friday. And I'm like 2 minutes late. Because the cat was just vomiting on the mail. 1 minute late, according to this. Could be worse. Alright, what do we got? Where are they? We got those. Alright, we got these questions here. There we go. Hey. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. Today is Friday, September 13th. Ooh, Friday the 13th, 2019. My name is Jeremy, and this is my first cup of coffee. So, confession. I ran out of coffee, or so I thought. I didn't even have emergency K-cups that I take from hotel rooms. But I remembered I still had, like, maybe a cup and a half of coffee from when I was in the Galapagos Islands 6 years ago. So I have a kind of weak cup of that coffee because I only use a little bit of it. Basically 1 tablespoon, heaping tablespoon to this cup of coffee. It's still really good. I need to go back just so I can get more coffee. Well, I got through a bunch more work yesterday, and we're working on, there's another new product I'm working on. What else is going on? Good morning, Stacy. Yeah, working with people. We've rolled out this co-branding program where we're partnering up with our wholesale accounts to develop custom apparel. Our logo, their logo, kind of mixing it up, doing some fun stuff. And the nice thing about it is that it gives them access to our print-on-demand partners. So they don't have to keep inventory of their shirts, which means we can have, or whatever they're doing. Right now, everybody's doing t-shirts. Excuse me. They don't have to keep boxes of shirts around and predict everyone's size and color preferences. You know, I think we've got some shirts out there that have like 15 different colors available. And we're splitting the profit with them. Everybody wins. And of course, the hope is that as people come to our website, they might buy something else. So that's been a fun program because I get to work with people, work with our wholesale customers. Just booked a number of guests. Had a great interview yesterday. Oh man, that guy was a great interview. I won't tell you who it was because I don't do that, but it's out on Monday. Because starting next week, we actually are building our backlog back up. It was funny. Leslie was saying that it was really hard to find people to talk to this week. But finally we found somebody, shoehorned him in on a Thursday. Normally I don't do interviews on Thursdays, but it was worth it. It was a great interview. And I don't think I have any interviews today. Unless something came up. I'll have to look. This is the beauty of having somebody else do it now. I don't have to do it. I just do what my calendar tells me, which is good. What else was yesterday? Some CrossFit. I had popcorn for dinner, pretty much. It was a very carb-laden breakfast because I need to go to the grocery store. I have no food. Clearly I need to go to the grocery store and buy a coffee. Yeah, just went into the co-working space and just hammered down on some work. I got a couple phone calls this morning. Going to the massage therapist, work on my shoulder and a couple other things this afternoon. What else? Case. That's most of it. Well, this weekend headed to Maine for I think the 5th weekend in a row, and I'll be doing some training, so I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, it'll be a good weekend. Well, we got some questions. and I'm going to answer them because there's not a whole lot to say. My days haven't been that full. I mean, there's been a lot going on in the days. There just hasn't been a lot of different stuff, not a lot to report. Yesterday I did email, and then there were a lot of Facebook messages, and I wrote back to those people, and then by the time I was done, there was another 700 emails. I'm exaggerating, but sometimes it feels like that. Ugh. All right, so let's start with this question. Ooh, okay. What do you think the martial arts would look like if they had been invented, developed today in the West instead of the East? So that's kind of two questions. If martial arts were developed today, I think that they would be closer to yoga. I think they would be far less militaristic in the way that we drill things. They would probably involve music. And I think it would be, I think we would be doing more around wrestling and grappling than striking. I think it would be easier to convince parents who had never seen martial arts that grappling and wrestling were safer and more of a sport than striking. And I think you see some of those tendencies already. If martial arts had developed in the West instead of the East in the past, and there are some Native American traditions. I mean, there are martial arts from all over the world. It's just we happen to be more familiar and train the ones primarily from Asia. I don't think there would be as much, if it was more modern, I don't think there would be as much jumping. I think they would be based more on power than precision. Those are the big ones coming up. Because I think if you think of the culture, right? You think of Western culture versus Eastern culture. We tend to be, hey, let's hammer that into place versus, let's make sure it's precise. Obviously, there are exceptions to every rule. I'm not calling anybody out. But that's the big difference that comes to mind. Yeah, good question. We see a lot of blendings of martial arts these days, and sometimes that ends up with some American or Western, some more Western philosophy. All right, next question. What are your thoughts on minimalism as a lifestyle? Well, it would feel arrogant to preach, especially since I am far from a minimalist lifestyle. But I'm trying to get there. I'm trying to have less stuff. I don't need all this stuff. Admittedly, I grew up kind of poor. I didn't have stuff. I didn't have most of the things that I wanted. And so when I reached adulthood, I got used to buying what I wanted. Wasn't always responsible in doing so, but I did it. And now, I think I've scratched that itch enough. I don't need all this stuff. There's stuff that's important to me, but most of it isn't. And the stuff that's not, I'm purging it. Don't need it. Let's get rid of it. And that was too big of a gulp. One of the things that I'm noticing, and I think that this is an aspect that other people might appreciate, is that as I have less stuff, it requires less time and less energy. I don't have to clean as much. I don't have to rearrange things as much. I don't have to look through as many things to find what I need. that's been nice. That's been, it's given me back time. And of course, time is the one thing that you can't make more of. What would you think of the idea of actually being a martial arts therapist? Well, I'm not going to go to school. I'm done with school. But I like helping people. And so we may end up having more episodes where we have people on the show and I talk through some of their challenges with them. I enjoyed that. I've enjoyed it when we've done it. And the feedback I've received from the people, from the guests, has been that they've benefited from it. And my belief is that others will relate to it and take benefit from it. I've even been kicking around the idea of rolling out, let's call it like a coaching. Because I've never been able to say I'm a therapist because I'm not licensed. But like coaching and supporting people through challenges in their life, but from a martial arts angle, or at least from those people being martial artists. Because martial artists have tools in their toolbox that not everyone does. So I like working with martial artists. It's something I would do. I don't know how big of my life it would be. Could be really helpful. I mean, there are coaches out there making a buttload of money. So it could be lucrative. I don't know if that's what I want to be known for, though. I'm still rolling around in my head. Imagine for a moment that you have spare time. What area of martial arts history would you like to study? Well, if we're talking history, not actual practiced skills. I don't know how much is written on this, but I've always found the way information spreads to be fascinating. I would like to learn more about how Eastern martial arts traditions started to spread. How did, early Chinese martial arts influence historical European martial arts, if at all? Why is there so much similar footwork between Filipino martial arts and capoeira? I suspect something happened in there. Whether that was European conquering of both areas, and so they learned, moved. I don't know. But kind of the virality of some of these movements and concepts. Yeah, there's only so many ways you can move the body, and only so many of them make sense through the lens of combat. I've said that a lot of times. But I still think that some of these things were shared. And I'd love to know more about that. If anybody knows about a book related to that I might make time for, because that would be interesting. Greg and I have a huge pile of books that I'm probably not going to read. Everyone sends me books. Here, read these books. I don't want to. I mean, I want to. I'm not going to. What I need to be careful of is I've made martial arts so much of my life that sometimes it can be overwhelming. Sometimes I don't want to do martial arts. I don't want to think about martial arts. Which is a double-edged sword. I don't regret anything. But I have to be aware of that, because the last thing I want is to become so burnt out on martial arts that I don't want to train at all. I always want to train. I just don't always want to train the same thing. I need that variety. Good questions today. 4 questions from 2 different people. I love it. Appreciate it. If you want to ask me a question, you can drop it below. I'll answer it on Monday. And let's see. I'll give you homework in a moment. Don't forget, we do the show every weekday morning, 6:30 a.m. Eastern, right here on YouTube. But you can catch it later at firstcupwithjeremy.com or in your podcast feed. If you haven't listened to yesterday's episode of Martial Arts Radio, episode 431, you can find it here on YouTube. You can find it in your podcast app. It's all over the place. whistlekickmartialartsradio.com, everywhere. Now, your homework. I'm a firm believer in whether you want to call it therapy or counseling or talking to somebody. It doesn't have to be formal, but we all have stuff. We've all got stuff on our chest, stuff weighing us down. If you had the opportunity to sit down with someone and just vent, what would you say? Now, you have the opportunity to vent to yourself. Sometimes speaking things out loud makes a really big difference. You can do a lot with the words when you hear them. The car is the safest place for most of us. Most of us travel to work solo. So if you have the chance to get some time to yourself, some time alone, talk to yourself about what you're facing. Talk to yourself about how you might solve those problems. It feels funny if you've never done it, but I've found it to be very, very helpful. So let's face it, we're all smart enough and compassionate enough to help our friends. Why not ourselves? I hope you have an absolutely fantastic day and an even better weekend. I will see you back here Monday. Take care.